Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are back with our read-through of Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, and we are up to part two, which is entitled The Illuminating Storms. Excited for what we are going to find in this chapter, in this part, but all in all, it is going to be a good journey. We are up to chapter 12, entitled Unity. And with part two here, we're going to be meeting some new characters. And I'll list the characters up front here. We're going to meet King Elhokar. This is Gavilar's son, who is now ascended to the throne. He's going to have some issues, though. One of the issues is that we're going to find is that King Gavilar was able, with the help of his brother, and that's someone else we meet, Dalinar. We heard about him a little bit in the very early prologue, actually at the night of the assassination. Szeth is actually going to sort of walk around Dalinar, who is celebrating and drinking and in a drunken stupor, essentially, on his way to kill Gavilar. Well, Elhokar now has been elevated to king. However, the authority that he has is very strained. They've divided the kingdom into high princes who are ideally serving the king. Well, Gavilar had the authority and the power to demand and that they actually treat themselves as princes. High princes, but princes. Elhokar has a struggle now. He has to grow in his leadership. He's not his father at this point. And so Dalinar is very much supporting his nephew, the king. So we meet Elhokar, we meet Dalinar, we meet one of the high princes, High Prince Sadeas. He and Dalinar are old friends. They go back to certainly when Gavilar was king, but he seems to be working his own agenda. He seems grumpy. He seems disgruntled. Part of it is because he has, as High Prince, he has a shard plate, right? We know this term now. He has a shard plate. However, he himself has not earned or won a shard blade. And so that is one area of disgruntlement. He feels like he is deserving as a High Prince to have both plate and blade. He doesn't have a blade. One character does that we're going to meet in this part, and that is Adolin. Adolin is Dalinar's son, King Elhokar's cousin. Adolin is the oldest son of Dalinar. His younger brother is named Renarin. We also meet him. Renarin is not his brother. Adolin is good with the ladies. He is a warrior. He has plate and blade, and he is essentially everything that you would hope for in a young prince who is going to one day take over for his father as a high prince over their home region of Alethkar. And so we have Dalinar, Adolin, Renarin, the deceased King Gavilar, and now King Elhokar. And we're going to meet one more character, and I'll get to him when we get there. Well, we begin with this part here, and they are on a hunt. They are hunting a chasm fiend, and this is an absolutely monstrosity of a creature. I'm going to add a photo of a chasm fiend to the title slide of this, so you'll hopefully be able to see a picture of it. However, as they're on this hunt, we're meeting Dalinar. He's talking with Adolin, his son, and Dalinar has been having some troubling dreams, is what everyone else sort of views it as. Dalinar views them as visions in which while he's in these dreams, he thrashes about, he spews gibberish, and Adolin admits to Renarin, as they're sort of talking about their father, that at times he's had to restrain his father so he doesn't hurt himself or hurt anyone else in this seemingly unconscious state that he goes into. Well, part of that is begin to hurt Dalinar's reputation. Dalinar, again, being the brother of the deceased king, now the uncle of the current king, he is a very, very important figure in Roshar. More than that, he has this reputation of being a fierce warrior. One of the titles that he gets is the Blackthorn. And again, just a really, really cool, almost Viking-style name, but he is an intense warrior. And Adolin longs for his father to return to that version of himself. However, since he's been having these visions, he has been becoming more and more passive, and not in every way. He's very strong on Elhokar, he's very strong on Adolin, but it seems from Adolin's perspective that his father just gets ridiculed, he gets chided in public, and really could care less. It doesn't affect him. Adolin wants to stand up for his father's reputation. He wants to challenge some of these outspoken princes to a duel. And his father is always pushing back against that. So that's a source of tension for Adolin. He respects his father. He looks up to his father. And why is his father not standing up for himself? He knows he's got it in him. Why won't he push back against some of this ridicule? And one of the ridiculers is High Prince Sadeas. He and Dalinar go back, they're old friends. However, he is very outspoken against what Dalinar used to be. What has brought them on this hunt? Well, it's something that they would do as a way of prize. Think a great hunt in ancient England where they're going to mount horses and chase after foxes. That's sort of what it is, however, a little bit more dangerous in the sense that the creatures that they're hunting are absolutely massive, sometimes 50 feet tall chasm fiends. And they're going to rain down bow and arrows. They're going to rain down fire on them, weaken them, and then ride in, cut out their legs with their shard blades and other swords, and then they're going to harvest the heart of this creature, which is a massive gemstone, all right? And this is going to be the prize of the hunt. Well, King Elhokar is now going on one of these hunts. He doesn't get to do this very often, and he is excited. And actually, Dalinar wants him to be in front of the people, so they begin to see him as more of an authority figure. A fully grown chasm fiend was living in the chasms, waiting to be hunted, yes, with its desirable gem heart, and they are on the way. Elhokar has an interesting and understandable condition. He is concerned and paranoid that someone is going to try to assassinate him as well. You can understand that. His father was cut down in cold blood. He's concerned. He actually tasks his uncle and his cousin to chase down every wind of threat that he may hear about his life. And it's, from their perspective, it's a little too much. He needs to breathe. Not everyone's trying to kill him at every moment of the day. But this is the state that Elhokar is, very nervous, not very confident, and Dalinar wants him to have a good experience on this hunt so the people see him having a success and just bolster his position here in the kingdom. What are these visions, though? Well, as they're approaching the hunting site, Dalinar sort of drifts off in his mind. He's considering the visions, and the visions have always seemingly ended in the same verbal challenge. And the challenge is to unite them. This is a phrase that he hears audibly in his brain, unite them. And he's been meditating on, what does this mean? At this point, he thinks it's uniting the high princes under Elhokar's reign. And so he's considering that, and his nephew sort of kind of shakes him out of this thought process and says, "Uncle, where are we going to have the overlook to see down onto the hunting site?" And Dalinar answers and sends him up forward. And Dalinar lets him win. And so Elhokar is just beaming. Again, he has some success. It's going well. Well, they get there, and Dalinar is still considering. Part of that uniting them is he realizes they're all in the Shattered Plains as what they call the Vengeance Pack. After the Parshendi assassinated Gavilar, and of course we know that it's Szeth, Sun Villano, Truthless of Shinovar, his entire title, but he was told to look like a Parshendi. And that's what he did. So they think this is the Parshendi that are responsible for this. They have chased them into the Shattered Plains. They're there to defeat them. And all of the Alethi view this as a noble thing. However, Dalinar, in his concern that he needs to unite them, part of it is he sees actually returning to Alethkar, returning to their home province, and really establishing Elhokar's rule. That to him would be the best. However, if he's going to bring that up, and people think he's kind of lost a step already, well, rejecting the Vengeance Pact is severely going to tarnish his reputation. He mentions it to Adolin on their way, and Adolin says, Father, do not tell anyone that this is what you're thinking. Please do not bring this upon our family, our princedom, right? Well, again, in the past, Dalinar had been utterly feared, but when now he goes on fewer chasm runs, he goes on fewer hunts, and it seems like he has lost a step. There's something we learn about Adolin as they're journeying on, and Dalinar tries to connect with his son, asks him how his most recent courtship is going. And he says the girl's name that he's courting. And Adolin corrects him, and he says, oh, I'm not courting her anymore. Dalinar goes, why not? That was like last week. And he says, yeah, I'm actually on to someone else. And actually the one that I'm on to now, we're sort of on the rocks, and so it's probably going to be someone else. And so we just get a little glimpse there of Adolin. He's very much the knight in shining armor and all the ways that that entails. So they continue to march forward, and we're going to meet another character here before they get to the place of the hunt. And I'll explain how that's going to go when we get there. They look back and defensively, right, because they're protecting the king. They look back and they see a rider flying over the hills trying to catch up to them. They sort of tense, but their spirits, some of their spirits rise and some of their spirits fall when they see who this character is. And this character is the king's wit. So again, what does the king's wit do? Well, don't think the king's jester. Don't think a foolish jokester of a person that everyone laughs at and pokes fun at. No. The wit here is different. Wit, and that's what his name is, Wit, his job is described as a sword for the king. Not an actual sword, though he does have a sword on him, but the king is not allowed to stoop so low as to insult his political enemies. He has to remain kingly. He has to remain regal and royal. And so his wit gets to say what he would like to say. And wit says a lot. When he rides up, again, he begins immediately badgering the people. He banters with Adolin about his lost loves, and nobody can ruin a relationship as quick as you can. He makes some comments about Renarin and him on some promiscuous journeys with women in town, and Renarin is horribly bothered by that. He's very, very private, Renarin. We're going to get to know him a little bit more. Sort of the opposite of his brother. He is weak. He has, not like he's a pushover, but he has sickly conditions, so he is just protected more. And Dalinar actually is furious at Wit. He doesn't have time for this. Dalinar is a great general. He is a soldier through and through. Actually, most of the high princes have rejected what are called the old codes, and it's that you're always in uniform, you never are given to wine in abundance, and very, very strict. And yes, he has no time for someone who is going to defy protocol by insulting people. And so the banter goes back and forth. And actually, Wit tells Dalinar, you know, Dalinar, I pick on people because I think that they can take it. As a way to say, you know, don't undersell Renarin. Don't just protect him and try to shield him from the world. He's got some strength within him. And Adolin is musing about Wit on his way over to the party. And he says something here that I wanted to read for you. He says, this new Wit had been with them for some months, and there was something different about him. He seemed to know things that he shouldn't. Important things. Useful things. So this Wit character is interesting. He's more than just a verbal jouster, right? He seems to be knowing more than he should. Well, as the party rejoins the king's court, they've gotten there, and actually they've set up tents, they've set up banquet tables. There's more than just soldiers here. There are ladies of the court, there are businessmen, there are scribes. And again, you'll remember in Roshar, it's not a masculine trait to be able to write for yourself. That's a women's art. So they have female scribes there in case the soldiers or the generals or the princes or high princes or even King Elhokar himself needs to send a message. Well, what's the hunt going to be? Well, they'd killed a wild boar. They'd dripped its blood down into a chasm where they had seen this massive chasm fiend prowling. And so they're trying to attract it here. One of the man's names is Bashan. He's a dark-eyed man, however, of the highest non. So he has risen to the highest point that you can be and still be a dark eyes. And if he wanted to, he actually would be able to marry a light eyes woman. So he is very elevated as far as dark eyes go. And he's explaining, it's his job to sort of detail what the hunt's going to be. And he takes his job very seriously. He's describing what's going to happen on the upcoming hunt. There's a chal that's been dragging this slain boar down into the chasm, you know, with blood dripping and the smell of a dead animal. And however, while he is explaining to this, the chal stops walking the way he should and he begins walking away from the chasm. And he apologizes, Bashan apologizes. I'm so sorry that he's doing this. He's been acting weird all day. But as he pulls away from it, Adolin notices a frayed end of the rope. And he sort of loudly says, isn't there supposed to be a wild boar on the end of that rope? And in that moment, everyone panics. And you can imagine what is about to happen. That animal was able to get free because something had eaten it off of the end of the rope. Here we go. Something dark, something mind-numbingly enormous rose out of the chasm on thick, chitinous legs. It climbed on the plateau, not the small plateau where the hunt was supposed to take place, but the viewing plateau where Dalinar and Adolin, as well as unarmed guests, female scribes, and unprepared soldiers waited. So that's how this chapter ends. We've met a lot of characters. There's some more tension going on. Again, we're not here with Kahlin or Shallan. We're with a new group, the Kahlins, and some of the high princes. One other connection is that Yasna is the sister of King Elhokar. Okay, so there's some connections for us. From these first initial characters, is there somebody that you are drawn to? How do you feel about Wit? That's specifically, he's going to become an interesting character. And again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but how do you feel about Wit? His sort of quick-witted tongue is so funny to me. I think it's hysterical and very enjoyable. But let me know below. And thanks so much. We'll catch you on the next video, though. If you would, if you've watched this far, obviously, I thank you so much for doing it. Why don't you like and subscribe? That would really help to get the word out about the channel. And we'll look forward to getting together in the next video.